Yo, what's going on, guys? And we're hearing that our man, Isaac Okoro, is going to be ramping up in trade talks as we get into it. I really do think I really do think, okay? The biggest thing about Isaac Okoro is Brian Windhorst put it best right here. I think there's only a little bit of talking back and forth. I'm sure it will increase as we get closer to training camp. The Cavaliers are realizing that all the money in free agency is spent, and Isaac Okoro has the option of taking his qualifying offer. The Cavs have also made a multi-year offer that it seems like Isaac Okoro is not interested in, whatever that's worth. And the other is he does a sign and trade. If he sign and trade, it has to be a 3-year deal at minimum. Or he takes a qualifying offer and goes back into free agency next season. Now, if any of you guys are betting people, I think he stays and retests free agency next year. Unless he wants to be signed and traded to a team like the Brooklyn Nets, or I don't even know what team. Not necessarily a good one, because there isn't many teams that need an efficient, low volume scoring wing who's an elite defender. I feel like all the good teams have somebody like that, but let's just say we were, okay? The worst NBA defensive ratings this season were, let's take a gander of who those were. Because the whole thing with Isaac Okoro is he would have to go to a team that needs somebody like him. One of those teams I do think is the Atlanta Hawks would be maybe interested. But the whole thing is what assets do you have? Because the teams he would trade him to are teams that are stuck in financial positions. And they would do a sign and trade to get off of a certain salary is definitely how I envision this going down. Now, I'm trying to think who that could be, and I do like the idea of Atlanta, so we could start there as an easy one. So if we go ahead and put on the screen our good old-fashioned trade machine, the idea is also, I know that they do it like this now. It's crazy to think about. Gordon Hayward retired, and wow, just wild stuff. Okay, you know where I have to go? I gotta go over here. They changed it. Modify contract, standard, 3-year deal. Okay, you're gonna say, I definitely think his deal has to be, I think he wants like 11. We'll go like that. We'll go like this. And then we'll go like that. Something like that seems reasonable. How much is that? 36 and a half over 3 years. Almost the full mid. Not terrible. Not terrible. So you sign him to that deal. And if you send him to Atlanta, the reason why I put Atlanta out here. Oof. So they're under the tax. Now Atlanta's 8.5 over the tax. This is where it becomes difficult to make a deal like this work. But you would assume they would do this because they would want to improve their defense. This would have to definitely be a 3-team trade because you would have to open up. Somebody else would have to take on DeAndre Hunter. And looking around the league, I don't know if there's somebody that would really want DeAndre Hunter. That could be if you believe that maybe the Spurs or the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are really a team that could maybe want DeAndre Hunter. And if you sent them to the Grizzlies, and then in this case, who would benefit? Atlanta could benefit from a Brandon Clark, or not Atlanta, but see, this is where it becomes hairy. How about, I don't know if this is going to work, but this is one that, yeah, that's what I thought. So they would have to cut $4 million in this deal. I thought they were going to be able to skirt around that, and that's why it becomes difficult I think you got to reroute John Conchar. But now, yeah, this is if you reroute John Conchar to the Hawks in this scenario, they still need to cut $4 million. And where do you find that $4 million? Again, Brandon Clark could be the guy that you just send to the Hawks and you keep John Conchar to the Cavaliers. Now, this would seem like it'd be a deal that would go mid-season. Like, who... The Hawks seem like overall they're the bigger winner. Also, that's not what the deal was. There we go. Overall, yeah, the Hawks seem to be the big winners. The Cavs basically turn Isaac Okoro into John Conchar and Santi Aldama, who Santi Aldama, if they do end up moving on from Jared Allen, could be a long-term guy. And then the Grizzlies, it says they get worse, but like I think DeAndre Hunter would not be bad. You'd just be giving up like Brandon Clark, but you'd assume then somebody in the starting lineup would become the sixth man. I don't really like this deal. At first, it was a good idea, but the more we went into it, I just didn't like it. Other teams that could take Isaac Okoro, and this becomes a big deal. Like, look at this. The Suns might have been a team that could have been interested, and I think they were trying to do that with Nas Little, and they just couldn't get it done. I bet he wanted too much money, because you have to understand they can't aggregate salaries. So if you're a team like the Suns, they would have to be moving off of money. Now, the Nuggets, they could be a team that they're like, hey, we don't have that so-called lockdown defender that we were hoping. And they're a first apron team, so they still can, I believe, be able to aggregate salaries. And the assumption is Zeke Nanji, and maybe they're over here thinking maybe we move off of somebody that we don't believe long term. Maybe if they really like, for example, as much as I like Christian Brown, what if they do believe that like Christian Brown isn't that guy? I didn't send the Nuggets anybody. I thought Okoro was sent there. So they would actually be saving $200,000 in this deal. And I actually could see this working out. Like, Cavaliers get themselves legitimately a front court player who, again, if somebody between Mobley or Allen got hurt, they'd have someone who's actually decent. And if they wanted to move on from either, I think that's the other thing, they'd have someone to be a bridge player. And then the Nuggets, if they don't think Christian Brown's going to be improving as a scorer, they get a guy who's equally as good as a scorer, but significantly better of a defender on a 3-year deal, like an all defensive level team defender. This is actually a type of deal they do, and they save $200,000 while doing it, and they get off of Zeke's money, and I just think this is like a great way to replace like Contavious Caldwell Pope. I think that's a legit one. And then, this minutes opens up the younger guys. Not a bad one.